Okocha-led All Progressives Congress in Rivers State has expressed concern over the incessant protest against the Vice Admiral Ibok-Ete Ibas administration. According to Okocha, the protests, which are allegedly led by supporters of suspended Governor Fubara, are undermining the reconciliation process in the state's crisis. Okocha, in a statement he personally signed, accused Fubara of sponsoring the protest against the sole administrator and the state government, saying the party views the ongoing protest as a deliberate attempt to destabilize the state and undermine the authority of the sole administrator. Okocha, while condemning the spate of protest, said the party is concerned about the safety of Rivers people in the face of the lingering mass action, adding that the state deserves peace, not chaos. He said, women are procured, mobilized, and instructed to invade and disrupt government programs and activities have gotten to an embarrassing level, raising serious concern about the safety of daily lives of Rivers people and those living and doing business in the state. The height of the continued daily unrest and disruption of public peace as orchestrated by suspended Governor Fubara and his allies is the disruption of an empowerment support program for women in Rivers State organized by Her Excellency Senator Oluremi Tinubu, the First Lady of Nigeria and the wife of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, under the auspices of the Renewed Hope Initiative on Thursday, 2nd May 2025 at EUI Event Center in Port Harcourt, and as a responsible political party in the state and the voice of the voiceless in Rivers State, we are deeply concerned about the safety and security of citizens as well as the overall stability of the state. The APC chairman condemned the protest and urged the relevant authorities to take immediate action to investigate the funding sources behind the protest and ensure that those responsible are held accountable. Damzi, what do you make of this story?
Thank you very much. Demonstration, protesting, depending on how we view it, it's lawful, it's constitutional. But at this point, I don't think incessant demonstrations are necessary at this point because we are at the point of reconciliation. We are at the point of having parties, warring parties, to reconcile issues. So, incessant protesting daily in the state shows a very bad signal. It signals the fact that a particular party is not willing to make peace. And with what I personally know about protests, protests must have a leader. Protests must have those at the grassroots mobilizing support for such protesters. And above it all, protest must have funders. So, in protesting, you will consider what are we actually protesting about. We know the story, how the sole administrator came in and all that. We know that we are not delving into that. But what Nigerians are expecting at this point is peace. And the FCT minister have told Nigerians that he is open to making peace with the governor. Okay, so we Nigerians want to also see a good sign from the part of the governor's supporters. But in this regard, the reverse is the case. The supporters of the governor have really showed that they are not interested in peace. And I must say it without fear or favor that they have started again to misleading our governor. And it's high time the governor called them to order, because the protesters are known. The faces are known. These are persons who served in his government or in one capacity or the other, leading this protest. So what will an ordinary man make of it? An ordinary man will just, see a sign of no peace. So they are making this peace process cumbersome. So what the APC chairman in the state have said, it's in line with what I believe, and it's in line with the peace-making process. If you are genuine to make peace with a warring faction, then you should stop protesting. You should stop gathering people to cause tension in the state. Instead, such leaders should rally support for the governor in respect of peacemaking. But in this case, I wouldn't want to mention names, but they are known. Their faces were seen. Some of them mobilized women that are not even Rivers indigenous, women that are not resident in this state.
How do you know that?
No. I see, Laurentia, I am grassrooted. I am not just a lawyer. I am a grassroots person. And I can tell you for free that in my own local government, there are women. There are women in my local government, but I can tell you for free that I didn't cite any of them. We didn't see any boss. Usually when government is mobilizing for a program, you see bosses littered everywhere picking supporters. But we didn't see any from my community. We can't find any from any part of Ikwere local government. The question is, are there no supporters of the governor in the local government? No, there are numerous number of supporters of the governor in our local government, but I didn't find any. That is to say, those who led the protests against the president's wife, Ibas, and co. These are known supporters of Similaye Fubara. And it is so ashamed that having left the premises, they still came back and received the gift. Is that not hypocrisy enough?
They were the ones that received the empowerment to 500 people. Because, I mean, some left, while some staged the workout, some were still in that event. The event finished. That event was successful, by the way, because they still went ahead to empower about 500 women. Now, the question would be, when you say they left and came back, then how about the people that didn't stage a walkout?
That's exactly what we are saying. He that comes
everybody
to APC,
did not walk out.
Yes, they? Everybody didn't walk out. I said it here that those who protested are known supporters of Similaye Fubara. They are not. They did that protest. The women protest did not represent the interests of Rivers women.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason I say the reason I say this is simple. Revisit the video. You will see a chunk of women that left. You will see the multitude that stayed behind.
Okay.
That is to say, the people are not part of what is happening. What just happened there is political manipulation. Yes, of course. The women who led the protesters are known. One is a House of Reps member, and one is just an ousted chairman of a local government in the state.
Do you know their names?
Yes, of course I do, but I wouldn't, for sake of confidentiality, I wouldn't want to disclose. But they know themselves. So what we are saying is, some Fubara supporters are not honest with what is happening in the state. The same way they began in deceiving him, encouraging him, they have started again. Look at what's happening in social media. A man who wants peace will lay low. A man who wants peace will advise people around him to take the right steps. But you make approach for peace in the morning, the next day your supporters are protesting.
Now the supporters have come out. I will mention names because you don't want to mention names. I can respect that. Now, Mrs. Tonye Briggs Onyide, in responding to that, you know, he took responsibility for the women that walked out under a guy's. There is a name they call themselves. I'll get that name briefly. But then she said that they were not sponsored by the governor. and she accused Wike of the FCT minister of, heating up the polity by that walkout, politicizing the walkout. And she said they were not sponsored by the governor. So now the women have come out to debunk that. What do you have to say to that?
Okay, I want to put it to Honorable Oyininde that they, the sponsors of the protesters, are the ones heating up the polity at this point. Not the FCT minister or his supporters. The FCT minister have come out publicly and said he is open to peace. And he gave his own condition wherein he will accept to make peace with his political godson, which is a welcome development, yes. But whether or not the governor sponsored the protest, his supporters, those who feel, oh, let's do this so that the governor will notice us, are the ones who sponsored the protest. And if they did it, then the governor did.
Now, the group that staged that walkout is called Rivers Professional Women League. Rivers Professional Women League. Now,
these are similar Fubara supporters.
Hold on.
They should stop deceiving Nigerians.
Hold on. Now, I need us to make a clear distinction between supporters and people who are against or fighting the FCT minister. You can be a supporter of the governor without, having a personal vendetta against the FCT minister. You can have a personal vendetta against the FCT minister and still not be a supporter of the governor.
Of course.
The question will be, is the governor used as a proxy in his own war? That's the question now. Because Oniyinde was appointed by the FCT minister when he was governor of Rivers State in 2015. I brought up this yesterday, and I'm going to ask you that question now, though from a different perspective. Oniyinde was appointed as the Commissioner for Tourism under the FCT minister when he was governor of Rivers State in 2015. However, much later down the line, there were calls for her sack on the ground that she was not performing, right? And then in 2016, the then Rivers State governor, who is the current FCT minister, Ezemoyeso Wike, suspended Mrs. Tonye Briggs Oniyinde. Now, Mrs. Tonye Briggs Oniyinde, interestingly, has come out to speak for the Rivers Women Professional League, who staged the walkout in that event. And she is saying that it wasn't about, it wasn't a form of disrespect to the First Lady. However, they were protesting against the wife of Ibas, addressing them, and then went ahead to accuse the FCT minister of politicizing the walkout. Now, I am looking at the persons involved. Now, this is only in there on one part. Now, you said one of the organizers of that is an ousted, one of the sacked local government chairmen. I already know that one. And then a House of Rep member. Now, when you look at all this, is this a function of supporting Fubara at this point, or a personal vendetta against the FCT minister? Because I think that there are the River State crisis has different perspectives which people are not looking at. For some persons, they are merely using the governor as a means to an end, and that is the personal vendetta they have against the minister, and they feel going through the governor or using the governor to fight the minister, to a large extent, they will achieve some level of satisfaction. For others, they are purely people who support the suspended governor. So I am looking at this from these two prisms.
Yes. In my view, the move is a personal vendetta against the FCT minister, one. And secondly, they want to prove to the suspended governor that they are still on ground. That's exactly what they are doing, not knowing that they are encouraging shooting the governor in his legs again. See, I am a conflict specialist, and there are signs, there are red signs that are not encouraging when parties are mediating, or when a conciliator is already conciliating on a matter. When parties are showing signs of disdain, insincerity, then the peace process will not be a success. We will now revert back to the Supreme Court judgment. That is the implication of what will happen at the end if the governor is not recalled ASAP. And that will lead to more chaos. Because if we revert back to the Supreme Court judgment, then we are maintaining status quo. Status quo at that point simply means that no government in the state as Supreme Court held. Then what happens? The states will just be plunged to an unrest because he will be impeached.
Right now, the person, from your analysis, the person at the losing end in this whole
is the governor.
Thing is the governor.
So he should tread with caution at this point.
You are saying the governor's supporters.
The governor's supporters.
I am looking at, are they actually the governor's supporters? Recall that there were a lot of persons that had interest in becoming the governor of Rivers State.
Of course.
And when the FCT minister said that, chose the suspended governor to be his replacement, some persons said, we will not serve the boy and serve the master. Meaning that we will not serve the FCT minister and also come back to serve. Now, let's fast forward to now. The governor's supporters, in quotes, already know the implication of urging the governor forward at that time. They knew, even when it was glaring, it was visible to the blind and audible to the deaf, that the governor doesn't have the law on his side. They still went on to encourage him and even take certain measures, even in courts, that were counterproductive to the success of governor winning that case, or having a chance at winning that case. That is why I'm now looking at that word, supporters. Are they actually the governor's supporters in the real sense of the word? Because if you are the supporter of a governor and you realize that the governor is making moves for reconciliation, common sense will tell you to act differently, or also take that conciliatory demeanor of the governor, the suspended governor. I'm moving forward in this event that has so much coverage, and this has to do with the First Lady. Don't you think, on the contrary, that it would have been wiser if these supporters, in quotes, used that opportunity, because they will have the floor to speak, use that opportunity to address the First Lady and seek for political intervention, as it were, in Rivers State crisis?
That's why I see them as crisis merchants. These people are not interested in the FCT minister making peace with the governor. They want the status quo to remain the way it is, so that they will be making money from the governor. That is it. These are people who deceived the governor. Good thing you mentioned a name and I laughed. You mentioned a name and I laughed. These are people who deceived the governor. They made the governor believe that he has all the powers under the Constitution. Okay? They made the governor believe that whatever he does will scale through. So that made the governor, at that point, the governor didn't even look at the Constitution. He was raping the Constitution. He was, I mean, how can a governor dismantle an arm of government if he didn't have these crisis merchants encouraging him, making him believe that he will have his ways? See, Nigerians at this point are not interested in what has happened. Nigerians at this point are only interested in the way forward. How do we move our state forward? That's the question now, because the state of emergency did not only affect the suspended governor. The House of Assembly too is affected. You can see most government activities in the state are nothing is happening. It's just a question of salary payment. At the end of the month, we receive allocation, they disburse salary. Nothing is happening as far as I'm concerned, because it is an emergency rule. So people should get that clear, that in emergency situation, you don't expect democracy to thrive. In emergency situation, even though Mr. President, in proclaiming that emergency, he did not affect the courts because he doesn't have the powers to do. And he was very particular about it, that in the case where there are issues, that the courts are open to determine those issues. Now,
that statement came from the president after the peace pact failed, and some persons were decided to take the president to court, challenging his constitutional rights to politically intervene in River State crisis. And interestingly, Pandef is one of them, because like I said, I will call names, because when this crisis was heating up, I questioned the activities of and statements of persons like Edwin Clark and the position of Pandef. You understand? And Pandef was very vocal in condemning that peace pact. And then the same Pandef, when the crisis now got to a head, started calling the same president again to intervene politically. And the same persons that criticized that peace pact, the same persons that went to court to challenge the constitutional right of the president to politically intervene, started calling him again to intervene politically into River State's crisis. And the president now told them, go to court. And even after the Supreme Court gave judgment, they started calling the president again. President said, go and implement the judgments of the court. Now, that has been the body language of the president, right? From that first time that peace pact happened, the president was absolutely silent on River State crisis. Absolutely. He just told them, go to court. And at the end of the day, they now started running back. Like, how do you run back to your vomit? Running back to the president. At the end of the day now, interestingly, most interestingly, at the end of the day, is it not political solution that the governor is seeking for? The same political solution that the governor was supporting his people to go to court against. Now, the governor is seeking for political, the suspended governor, sorry, is seeking for political solution to this. Some of the supporters of the governor are calling for political solution. They are also calling for the same president to mediate in the matter. I'm trying to make this entire thing make sense to me. So now the people who are again, because I'm trying to find a way to remove the governor, because Tony Okocha has accused the suspended governor of sponsoring this protest, doing one thing and acting the other. But the question would be, are these actually the governor's supporters, or are they people who have a personal vendetta against the FCT minister on one hand? Are they the same people who had that position that we cannot serve the master and serve the boy on the other hand? Are they the same people who you mentioned being crisis merchants? If this crisis is resolved, their source of income automatically ends, and they do not want this source of income to end. Therefore, the crisis should continue as long as it oils their pockets.
Yes, Laurentia, we need to face facts here that this is politics. Politics, it's not like the church, what we do in the church on Sundays. Politics is not like what the Muslims do on Fridays. And politics is not like the way our traditional institutions are being run. It is all about who gets what, how, and when. Now, political gladiators are disagreeing. Before a governor is chosen, definitely there will be a round table of stakeholders to look at the reason why a governor must be supported. At the end of the day, we know the rest of the story. Now, those who are encouraging the crisis, they have had their way within the last 2 years. They have benefited from the largesse of the governor. And believe me, they are scared that this peace process will shift them out of the cabinet. That is the truth and nothing but the truth. And that's exactly... Yes, of course.
The peace process
will shift them out of the cabinet.
Because if there are reconciliation, then there must be compromise.
Of course.
And these persons, according to Supreme Court's judgment and the position of the Rivers State House of Assembly, they are impostors and unknown to Rivers State.
They are unknown to Rivers State. They are unknown to Rivers State. And I can say it again without fear or contradiction, that they are scared that the peace, if finally made, some of them will not make lists. Because it is simple. The party leadership, the stakeholders, they agreed on something before they supported Similayo Fubara. People should get this clear. There is no point sugarcoating it.
Okay.
If I am projecting you for a political position, there will be understanding.
And an interest.
Yes, of course, that when you get to that office, Mr. A and B and so will be your commissioners. Mr. B and so will be in the board. So person will represent us here. Everybody mustn't hold political appointment. But in the interest of the parties, stakeholders will be carried along. People that will run around for the state, like developmental projects and all that. So now that these beneficiaries, some of them came in, because of the way things went wrong. So those that originally made lists as agreed ab initio, okay, left, they resigned because of the conduct of the governor and all that. So the governor now injected new blood. So these new guys that are there now, they are only doing this to impress the suspended governor, so that by the time he comes, he will find them in one office to the other. But I put it to them that they are making a wrong move. See, Rivers State belongs to all of us. Rivers State doesn't belong to the suspended governor alone, or neither does it belong to the FCT minister alone. But what the FCT minister has said from the beginning is, let the right thing be done. And what is this right thing? People brought you to power. People brought you to power, so they should be part of what's going on. So, and we can say it without, contradiction, that the role the suspended governor played all this while, he wanted to push out the FCT minister from the political stage. Who does that?
Well,
yes, of course, that's exactly
the concern is that the FCT minister has had his sway in Rivers State.
Yes, so since
you
that
should
has
allow
happened,
the governor to also breathe and have his own sway as well.
But the FCT minister in any way is not holding his neck. Neither is he covering his nose not to breathe. At this point, he has approached the FCT minister. We heard it from the Wike mouth direct, that he has approached him and he said, let the stakeholders be involved in this peace process. And in my opinion, as a conflict expert, you cannot mediate on a matter that concerns lots of people alone. All the injured parties, the affected parties must be on the table. Don't forget that the governor insulted Osiju Okocha publicly. The governor insulted Chief Sergeant Awuse. These are stakeholders in the party. These are people who rallied around the FCC minister to giving the governor the maximum support. But at the end, you shift these elders aside and even make jest of them publicly. How do you cajole a man like OCJ at that level? I mean, he was really deceived. And I want to also use this medium to advise our dear suspended governor. Rivers people are expecting you at this point to allow wise counsel to prevail. Do not allow crisis merchants to heat up this polity again. Rally around the stakeholders like your predecessor have advised. Come to the negotiation table, work out this thing for us to have lasting political peace in Rivers State. Otherwise, we will revert back.
There are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the talking. Who can